Could you tell us about the Powley case?
Sure, yeah. So, 1982, the Constitution was brought home from England. And part of the new Constitution was Section 35, right? And Section 35 says that the Aboriginal and treaty rights of the Aboriginal peoples of Canada are hereby recognized and affirmed. And for greater certainty, the Aboriginal peoples of Canada are the Indian, Inuit, and First Nations people. Indian, Inuit, and Métis people of Canada. And nobody really knew what that meant, right? Our people thought that means they're going to recognize all of our rights. Government thought that it meant nothing, and we would have to essentially prove our rights on a case-by-case basis, right? So in the late 80s, some of the community members around this area, around Sault Ste. Marie, they started to try to get charged by the MNR for hunting without a license, right? Because they said if we get charged, we can go to court and we can prove that we have a right. So one of the guys who tried to get charged was Art Bennett. He tried, I think, twice to get charged, and they wouldn't charge him. We think it's probably because it was very obvious that he was trying to get charged, and so the government wouldn't charge him. And then in 93, the MNR game wardens charged Steve and Rod Powley with shooting a moose without a license, right? And Steve had tagged the moose with a note with his Métis card that said, harvesting my meat for winter, right? Just a simple note. They charged him, and 10 years, for the next 10 years, his family and our community and the entire Métis Nation spent in court, from the first level of court here in Sault Ste. Marie through the next 3 levels of court to the Supreme Court. Over that 10 years, 4 levels of court and 14 judges heard that case. Not one judge disagreed with the fact that we were an Indigenous people, that we had unceded and unsurrendered rights, and that one of those rights was the right to hunt and fish for food, right? So over the 10-year battle, it really brought our community together to ensure that we kept up that fight to ensure that our rights to harvest were recognized. And now we have sort of a pretty good harvesting agreement with Ontario. There's some work to do there, but we're working on it. The Manitoba Métis Federation in Manitoba, they have just concluded 2 years ago a fantastic deal that's modeled after our deal. Alberta is working on a similar deal. Saskatchewan is very close to signing a deal with the provincial governments in those areas to ensure that they will recognize the rights of those communities, right? So from Powley, we have had the whole universe has changed for Métis people since the decision, right? That affirmed that we are, in the eyes of Canadian law, that we are here and that we have rights and that they have to be respected, right?